What's good, gamers? Blowoff941 here, back with another Destiny 2 opinion video. This time, it's not a live comm, so hell yeah. Today, I wanted to talk about something. Hopefully, by the time this video ends, you'll understand where I'm coming from and what I'm trying to say with all of this. But, it's a bit of an annoyance right now. I don't know how to talk about Destiny at all. And like, you know, I expected a little bit of that since we were going into a new era of the game and the growing pains are going to be a little, you know, the dust has to settle and whatnot, but it's not even just like a how to do weapon reviews or anything like that, but just in general, I just don't know how to talk about it. It's all just a mess right now. So let me just break down what I'm trying to say a little bit more, give some examples. Like, when I say I don't know how to talk about it, I don't mean just weapon reviews given the weapon stat fuckery, but how to even give my thoughts on the game as it stands right now, because discussing this topic is even more of a landmine of disingenuous dog shit than usual, but you know, whatever. Plus, telling the difference between what was intended and working correctly, what was intended but not communicated in the patch notes correctly, what was intended but just sucks ass, and what was not intended and is a bug is fucking impossible until all of that dust settles. And by that time, there'll be changes to systems, so having an informed opinion is genuinely impossible with my free time as of late. For example, sometime in the last 24 hours of writing this script, it turns out that the walking speed baseline Bungie said they were sending everybody to, since they got rid of mobility as a stat, is just not accurate. I'll link the thread down below because I'm too stupid to parse all of this data, and reading somebody else's work does not good content make, in my opinion, but is that a missed patch note, or is it a bug? Who fucking knows? It's a bug. They came out and said something about it. Completely unrelated, but did you know that most QA teams get gutted first when mass layoffs occur in the tech industry? Who would have thunk that a complete overhaul to an 8-year-old MMO Lite would cause technical issues and have bugs? There's no way they could have predicted this at all, obviously. If this industry wasn't literally eating itself, I'd be less snarky, but paving the way for AI means you gotta cull out your staff, despite having record-breaking profit margins, and telling them that, hey, I know that you're the reason why we're doing so well, but we need to get rid of you because we need to set aside money in order to invest into AI for the future. Fuck you, Phil Spencer. Holy shit, dude. What other industry do you get laid off if your company is seeing unprecedented success? Where does that shit fucking happen at? And anyway, that's a topic for another time. Back to the point of this video. I usually have like 3 or 4 unfinished scripts and projects going at any given time, just because I start things that don't end up having enough legs to be anything other than a shitpost, or I don't feel confident in my abilities to achieve the goal I set out to do with said video. Right now, I've got 9 half-started scripts just about Destiny that all have hit the same exact wall and stalled out in the writing phase. 3 of which are weapon reviews, which are not very hard to make. I just don't know how I'm going to talk about damage thresholds and perk interactions, plus the weapon stat determining optimal time to kill in a concise manner. Testing out each individual point of the weapon stat above 100 is not something I can afford to spend my time to do, since this is not my job. Like, why the fuck does the weapon stat even work in PvP? There's no counter to it. Like, it's just the resilience problem, but on the other side, now it's based on your weapon stat as opposed to the enemy's resilience. Like, if we're gonna have weapon stat make like 2 burst thresholds for certain kinds of weapons, why don't we have the health stat be active in PvP to like counter that directly? Instead, it's for recovery, and people really value recovery. I personally think it's overvalued, but whatever, not the conversation we're having here, but apparently that also might be bugged. Like, you can get a base feel for a weapon, and I tend to lean on that for my weapon review content, but with so much in the air right now, and people only caring about shit like, can this pulse rifle 2-burst, I'm out of luck. I could talk about the story, but I'm not really a narrative person. If you want the long and short of my opinion on the Edge of Fate campaign, it was fine, better than Lightfall and Vanilla, well, that's not a very high bar. I see people saying it's the greatest story Destiny's ever told, and that's just some insane people shit. I like Lodi, and the art team crushed it like usual, but Matterspark sucks and feels half-baked and clunky. This isn't really a Metroidvania, and the majority of puzzles boil down to C-lock, find key, or the inverse, and that's incredibly fucking boring. I could talk about the portal and the emphasis on power level, but I don't see Bungie leaving things as they are right now for very long, and I'm not even entirely sure how all the systems work anyway, so my opinion wouldn't be valid as a point of criticism. Not to mention, any discussion of the level grind or how the portal works is met with just the most hyperbolic dog shit responses I've seen from the community in a long time. The worst it's ever been, Paul? Really? It's an overhaul from a system that over time has just shaved off the requirement for any investment on the side of the player to get best in slot gear. to one that now requires engagement to get to the point of 100% optimization. Was it an overcorrection? Yes, 100%. But if you saw big changes coming and didn't expect there to be growing pains, I don't know what the fuck to tell you, dude. But the worst it's ever been, give me a fucking break, man. The reset is designed so normal people spend at least half the season grinding to earn the right to chase guns and most that gear. Then you unlock the ability to chase interesting loot. No. It was designed to bring back the grind and make it a requirement to get the best gear. But they missed the mark and overcorrected. It happens. This is supposed to be an evolving game that gets built alongside the community. This is something that we've done this since Destiny 1. You remember how that launched? You remember what changed over time? Yes, they fucked up and overcorrected. I am not saying that they did a very good job, but to just be so insanely, this is the worst thing that's ever fucking happened. Suck my dick, dude. I've seen people say shit like the Tyson Green dismantling Joe Blackburn's legacy guy was right. Shut the entire fuck up. The game had rough periods under Joe too, my guy. Nostalgia's such a fucking powerful drug, it warps your perception of history. Do you remember the response to Joe's state of the game back in 2023? People were calling for his death. Fucking dude. It's insane. It's insane. I'm losing the plot here. Things that make no sense, right? Let's get back to it. Trials. The Trials revamp was great. Then Bungie squandered it with poor timing. Iron Banner scheduling plus a couple of other events killed all the momentum it had, and the shitty map rotation ruined the population. Dissidence needs to be shot into the fucking sun. It's not fun to fight on in respawn modes or in Trials. Remove this fucking map from the game, please. Like, it's pretty. I don't care. I figured Trials would just have to wait until Edge of Fate to recapture some of the hype, and it started to. And then people played. And removing the rep tracks from vendors meant there isn't a number go up to chase anymore. Part of the reward incentive was grinding extra rep on high win cards, win or lose. The Lighthouse chest can only be opened once a week again, so there's less reason to go back into the playlist after you've gotten through it once. The tiered weapon system being tied to power level means you're getting less than the highest potential gear for doing something the community has routinely demonstrated requires a top tier reward to be engaged with, so you've delayed the interest for the majority of the player base till way late in the season, where Trials traditionally struggles to maintain its population. My opinion is that Trials should be a little bit more hostile to the player, but give like the best gear for PvP. But we all know that the community doesn't like that, and they want it to be a little bit easier to get. If we are going to go the most healthy route for Trials as a game mode, I think it needs to give best in slot gear, and it needs to be a little bit more friendly to the player to get involved. So the fact that it's also tied to the tier, like the power level tiered loot system, is fucking insane to me. I don't know how you didn't see this coming. Genuinely. What are you doing? All of the shit that you revamped, gone. What? Insane. But then again, all of that being said, which parts of that are intentional and which are bugs? I don't fucking know, and Bungie hadn't said anything about it yet at the time of recording, so I just gotta guess. Oh, and the featured gear tag sucks so much. Like, I talked about it way before and how much of a bad fucking idea it was, but man, I didn't think it was gonna be this bad. Meta should not be dictated by an arbitrary marker given by the dev team. It should be discovered naturally by the players. Yes, there are like some things that come, oh, we're going to buff this, so it's obviously going to be kind of strong. I get that. But strong play styles inspire counter strategies, which inspire their own holy shit, say the fucking lines. Strong play styles inspire counter strategies, which inspire their own counter strategies and so on. But instead, since using featured gear gives you a score bump and your activity score determines your loot at completion, everybody's just using Outbreak Perfected every goddamn game, since a counter strategy would hurt the chance of getting higher powered loot. So instead of going, well, what could I do to fight against Outbreak, it's just, I'm gonna also use Outbreak Perfected, or Wicked Implement, or one of the other featured gear weapons, right? Why am I getting even more punished than usual for playing against the Grand the Crucible? The featured gear itself was a mistake, but it's tied to score for some fucking reason. I don't understand this decision. Doesn't make any fucking sense. Armor's weak. I'm glad it was just a bug that was causing no rep to be gained from activity completions, but there's also secret daily challenges, but only sometimes, and the UI element bugs out often, so it's ending in a couple of hours, so fuck it, I guess it doesn't matter. We'll figure it out when the next one comes around, which I guess is tomorrow because Solstice is also starting. I don't fucking know, man. Whatever. The Desert Perpetual Raid Race. Around 70% of clears were allegedly cheated. What the actual fuck, dude? Plus, the race was tuned around loadout swapping, which I personally despise. Loadout should have trade-offs. The boss killer loadout is weaker at killing the ads, and the ad killer loadout, in theory anyway, Loadout swapping and abusing ammo spawn mechanics slows the game down or removes any potential trade-off with riveting menu-based gameplay. Not to mention that leaning into swapping goes against the previous communications they've put out about how they feel about swapping being the solution and has become the top-end play. Like, they introduced a bunch of, like, things to disincentivize swapping, and it didn't actually do anything. So, like, whatever. And, like, I'm not a top-end player, so, like, this is how you have to challenge them. I get that. Like, embrace it. Don't be like, well, we don't want you to do it. Just embrace the things that you've done. But, man, menu gameplay is just not fun. Shoot the thing in the face. Have a trade-off with your loadout. In my opinion, that's more engaging, but, you know, whatever. The Caldera, Encore, K1 Hive, Starcrossed problem. Like, how that's the most efficient thing is just to... The most efficient way to level is just to run one activity again and again and again and again. That's a byproduct of water finding the crack, to be honest with you. And activity completion mattering more than length difficulty of the activity completed. A change that will absolutely get ironed out in time. Plus, like, avant-garde and loadout locking gives way too much of a score boost for how little it actually changes your gameplay, but whatever, here nor there. People are complaining about how they have to run the same thing over and over again to level up, and I'm like, you don't have to do that. It's just the most efficient way to do that, and most games tend to have a really, really boring but incredibly efficient way to do something. It's kind of a hard problem to solve. Like, that's kind of... Game design is part of that. Now, if there's some unintended absurdity where a billion things are dropping without having to actually finish the encounter or do an activity completion, like, that's obviously a problem, and disabling it in that instance was a good idea. But, like, this is just something that happens, and fighting it is part of being a game dev, especially in a live service game. Like, it is what it is. I think people are harping too hard on something that is just basically an industry standard, but whatever. The sprint bug. Holy Christ, the sprint bug. Every time you respawn, the Traveler flips a coin. If you lose that coin flip, you don't get to sprint for that life. It's making PvP unfucking playable, which really sucks. I want to play the game so fucking bad right now. Not even just because I want to make content, but because I actually want to engage with the grind again. It's something that I've been asking for a return to for so long, but there's a chance that my base movement functionality just doesn't work, and it exacerbates every other frustration I normally deal with trying to play in the Crucible. Haven't made my point yet? How do I talk about this game when everything is either a bug or will be shaved down or removed in the coming weeks? What do I suggest people engage with? Like, I'm gonna try to make some shit anyway. I'm gonna force a video about Qua Nihilus the Second or Qua Nihilus 2 out the door next week just because I can't do the thing if I don't do the thing, if that makes sense. I lied. We're doing Yeartide Apex because it's a new SMG and it's topical owned. But man, is it frustrating right now. It'd be one thing if I didn't want to play, if I was getting burnt out, but I'm not. If anything, I'm chomping at the bit to shoot aliens and other guardians in the face. I just wanted to vocalize something that's been putting my creative process on the back burner. I didn't want to make another unwatchable livecom or community post about it either because I feel like this is more important than it seems. I don't know why, I can't point to anything specifically, but I do think that this, like, points to a bigger thing that's going on. Maybe not within the game, but within, like, I don't know. Whatever. How are y'all feeling in all of this? Is what I'm saying resonating with any of you guys, or am I just a crazy person who's too close to the situation and I have a unique perspective because of it? I'll bet it's the latter, but fuck it. I'm hoping there's at least one person out there who understands my frustrations, because I want to play the game, but I am being fucking told that it's a bad idea for various things all over the place, and there's this overreaction from the community in all these different spots, and the end result that they're coming to is the grind is the problem, when the grind is not the problem. It's everything else that they did that overcorrected to make the grind even worse, or that broke the game that's the problem. I don't know, whatever. Anyway, as always, thank you for watching, thank you for listening. Have a wonderful day.